And just like that, 2024 is game over and 2025 has begun. Some people might not agree, but if you ask me, 2024 was an amazing year for video games. This year I realized that if I really wanted to, I could stream a completely different game every time and I would never run out of stuff to play between all the new releases and my ever-expanding backlog. I streamed more games than ever, juggling multiple games at a time, and even then I wasn't able to get to everything that I wanted. There were so many games this year that, just to prove a point, all the footage that I've shown in this video so far is from games that I didn't play this year. Game of the Year contenders like Metaphor ReFantazio, Black Myth Wukong, high-profile releases like Stellar Blade, Dragon Age, Space Marine 2, games that I really wanted to play and just never got around to like Dragon's Dogma 2, Persona 3 Reload, Metal Slug Tactics. I was so excited for Metal Slug Tactics. I've said it before, but there's just too many games and not enough time. I'm too busy trying to get the stupid glitched Vice City Platinum, and off-stream all I play is Balatro. It's just impossible. There's no time. When I did my top 10 video for 2023, I felt like I just barely played enough games to even make a list. This year I could damn near make a top 20. Now the bottom of that list would be filled with a lot of 6s and 7s, but if I really wanted to, I could. But let me not waste any more of your time, and let's just give praise to games that legitimately deserve it. And just to cover all my bases, spoiler alert for any and every game I'm about to mention, just in case you want to play it for yourself, which I recommend you do. Anyways, without further ado, here are my top 10 games of 2024. Number 10 is The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. If you remember, my 2023 game of the year was Tears of the Kingdom, so clearly I'm a big Zelda fan. That was a massive game that took me over 100 hours to finish, so in my mind I wasn't expecting to get a new game in the series anytime soon. But shout out to Grezzo, who made the fantastic Link's Awakening remake as well as the 3DS versions of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Safe to say they're very familiar with Zelda, but this was their first original game, and I think they did a fantastic job. While technically this is not the first game where Zelda is the protagonist, this is the first one of consequence, first one that really matters. Echoes of Wisdom does a perfect job of blending the traditional top-down Zelda style with modern Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom openness and freedom. This game is not really open world, but the infinite choices you have in puzzle solving will definitely feel familiar to newer Zelda fans. I was super high on this game on release and blasted through the whole thing in one weekend. But if I'm being completely honest, I did end up missing Link's sword. The echoes were fun, and it kind of felt like sending Pikmin or Pokemon out to fight, but at the end of the day, I had the most fun when I could just pull out the sword and shield for a few seconds. I promise I'm not an incel or a He-Man woman hater. I think it's awesome that Zelda finally gets her own game. But I just can't help but feel like I would have loved the game way more if I was just Link the whole time. Or maybe even better, they could have had an Assassin's Creed Shadows type feature where you can play the whole game switching between Zelda and Sheik. Zelda for the echoes and Sheik for some speedy melee combat. That could have been fire if they did it correctly. They would have had to design the whole game around that, which I mean, technically they kind of did, but I don't know, I'm just spitballing here. Overall, I still loved how Echoes had callbacks to a bunch of the previous games in the series. And again, spoiler alert for the ending, skip ahead now, but I was a little underwhelmed with the final battle. I feel like they should have done a little bit more with having Link there, having Link and Zelda there working together. Like if I finally got to switch back and forth between Link and Zelda, or if they had like specific combo moves or something, that would have made it more fun than what it actually is. What it actually is Link just feels like another one of your Echoes. And I know in the story of the game, this is the first time that Link and Zelda ever meet, so obviously it makes sense they wouldn't have just like synergy out the gate completely out of nowhere. But this is Nintendo we're talking about. They always put gameplay first and story second. If it's fun, they figure out a way to shoehorn it in there. I remember the first time I played Link's Awakening back in 2019, I kind of felt about that game the same way that I feel about this game. But this year I replayed Link's Awakening on stream, and I really appreciated a traditional Zelda experience way more after Tears of the Kingdom. It's like you don't know what you got till it's gone. And classic Zelda is just, oh, so good, so good. So I hope maybe in 5 years I can look back at Echoes and appreciate it even more for what it actually is. It's a really great game. A formidable entry to the Zelda series, the legendary Zelda series, filled with classics and masterpieces. Echoes deserves its spot. It's worthy of the name. And as for today, it's worthy of my number 10 spot. Number 9, Helldivers 2. Helldivers 1 went triple platinum on my PS4 back in high school. I remember trying to get all my friends to play it because it was so challenging but ridiculously fun, and it holds a soft spot in my heart. So it makes me so happy that Helldivers 2 came out and was such a huge success this year. I loved the original game, and I'm so glad that everybody else gets to experience it now. The exact same Starship Troopers style satire and wonderfully difficult gameplay loop all wrapped up in a nice tidy third-person bow. Now if you know me, you know I'm a pretty antisocial gamer. I hate feeling like I'm letting other people down with my shitty gameplay. But I'm not even gonna lie, some of the most fun moments in Helldivers 1 and 2 are when your whole squad is dead and you're the last man standing and you're just trying to survive long enough to put a beacon down and bring back one of your teammates. If I wasn't so weird about multiplayer, I would have kept coming back to this game all year long, spreading democracy and whatnot. But even the tiny bit of Helldivers 2 that I streamed this year was fun enough for me to put this game at my number 9 spot. But give me like a single player campaign and it's my game of the year. Maybe I just need to play Space Marine 2 finally. Number 8, Mouthwashing. I've been thinking about this game every day since I played it on stream back in October. It's an indie horror game on Steam. I went in completely blind and what I experienced was one of the most captivating, well-told, freaky-deaky stories of the year. If that sounds interesting to you at all, please go play it without any context. Don't look anything up. If you like scary games, just go in blind. The less you know, the better, and you're gonna have a great fucking time, I guarantee it. Now, for anyone that doesn't want to play it, let me tell you why I love it so much. The story is told completely out of order in a way that slowly gives you more and more context without giving the whole thing away. They perfectly utilize the PS1 polygon art style. I think it's so underrated for horror games. Shout out to another game that I played this year, Fear the Spotlight. That was originally going to be in my top 10 until I played Mouthwashing. And now I would put Fear the Spotlight just outside of the list, maybe at like number 11. Great game. But back to Mouthwashing, and again, full spoiler alert. But the slow reveal that you've been playing as the bad guy the whole time was just so well done. I am literally not kidding that I've been thinking about this game every single day since I've played it. It has not escaped my mind. It lives rent-free in my head. It's just so well done the way that they do it. I think word of mouth is starting to spread because I've been seeing a lot more people talk about this game. It's winning some awards at the end of the year. And I'm also starting to see a lot of fan art, which feels kind of weird, but maybe it's because I follow the developer on Twitter. They just retweet it a lot. Honestly, the subject matter for this game feels kind of heavy for it to have a fandom like it does with so much fan art. But I'll allow it because I get to see so much Anya fan art. Even her story, I'll completely admit it went over my head when I was playing it. I didn't even realize that she got sexually assaulted. I'm just a dumb guy that doesn't think about these things. I'm oblivious to it. I'm sure any woman would have clocked right away that 4 guys and 1 girl on this ship in this horror game was not going to go well. But I'm listening and I'm learning. And it adds another layer to this game's narrative. Even Curly, who comes off as the morally good character. You start the game off thinking that he's the one that crashed the ship on purpose. Maybe he's unwell, maybe he's schizophrenic or something. And then when you learn that Jimmy is the one that actually crashed the ship, you start to feel bad for Curly. Despite his delusions, he seems like a chill guy. Then you realize Curly isn't completely free of blame either. He's the one that invited Jimmy onto the ship so that he can escape Earth, for he's probably committed some heinous crimes, run away from responsibility, which is a big theme in this game. And then he defends his friend when Anya tells him in confidence what Jimmy did to her. And then you realize that this whole situation could have been avoided if Curly just followed the company's orders and told them a lot closer to their destination that they had all lost their jobs. He basically told the entire crew, hey, in 1 week you're all fired, but let's all keep working like normal, okay? Let's just finish the job, keep working for this company that don't love us no more. When you realize all that, suddenly I start to feel like Curly maybe got exactly what he deserved. You shit this bed, now sleep in it. But then again, maybe people shouldn't be defined by their worst moments. Mouthwashing is just such an amazingly written game. Even if I just spoiled the whole thing for you, please go play it anyway. It's only a 2 to 3 hour experience and I promise you won't regret it. If it were a longer, more complete game, I would easily move it way higher up the list, and I'm sat for whatever developer Wrong Organ cooks up next. But as of today, Mouthwashing is my number 8. Number 7, Crow Country. Even though Resident Evil took this year off after putting out non-stop bangers the last few years, 2024 was still an amazing year for horror. Spoilers for later on the list. Crow Country was another indie game this year with PS1 graphics, and this one was the most accurate representation in my eyes. It specifically nails that Final Fantasy look. Crow Country really scratches the classic Resident Evil itch. It's a solid 6 to 7 hours, but that didn't stop me from beating the whole game in one sitting. I absolutely loved the abandoned theme park setting, and I thought it was super well utilized. Combat was fun and satisfying, and actually kind of reminds me of Helldivers 1, but way less action-packed and more survival horror. The story was a little predictable, but that didn't stop me from enjoying the journey. The only reason I have this game above Mouthwashing is because it's way more fully featured from a gameplay standpoint, and gameplay is going to do it for me every time. I can easily see myself replaying Crow Country in the future to try out the harder difficulty, or maybe pick it up on the Switch when I'm in the mood for something handheld, or maybe I'll even go back for the Platinum Trophy. Whatever it may be, I'm very happy putting Crow Country at number 7. Number 6, Silent Hill 2. Let it be known that 2024 was the year I became a Silent Hill fan. I played a little bit of Silent Hill 1 back on the PS3. I ran around in the fog a little bit, didn't know what I was doing, and I turned it off, never to return. But that was high school. Now I have an attention span and a fully developed prefrontal cortex. So now I can see that Silent Hill 1 actually is not that obtuse and has a really great map for 1999. This shit kind of kicks Resident Evil's ass if we're talking PS1. I still love Resident Evil, but holy shit have I been missing out. Silent Hill 1 impressed the hell out of me for being a PS1 game, but Silent Hill 2 shook me to my fucking core. I played the PS2 version on PCSX2 and I was enthralled, completely enraptured by how good this game looks for PS2 for 2001. And in terms of story, they fucking went there on multiple occasions. I wish I wasn't such a scaredy cat as a kid so I could grow up playing this instead of fucking Mario vs. Donkey Kong 2 March of the Minis or whatever the fuck I was playing. I was completely in awe of Silent Hill 2. The only thing holding it back today in big 2025 is its dogshit combat and frustrating camera. But luckily for me, Bloober Team came out with a badass remake for the PS5 that fixes those two major issues and faithfully recreates the source material. I put this remake on par with Resident Evil 2 and 4, where if you've never played the original game, you can safely pick up this version and you won't be robbed of experiencing a survival horror masterpiece. On top of massive improvements to the camera and combat, they made a lot of smart decisions and honestly just made the game scary as fuck. I had just played the PS2 version and I knew exactly what was going to happen, but the first time I saw Pyramid Head in the remake, I was shitting bricks. Even more than the original. On the PS2, it's like seeing a mascot at a theme park. It's like, oh shit, it's Mickey Mouse. Oh shit, it's Crash Bandicoot. Oh shit, it's Pyramid Head. I've seen that guy in movies and other games. Can I get a selfie? But in the remake, I was like, shoot at his ankles, shoot at his ankles. You couldn't shoot at his ankles before. Oh, I'm fucked, I'm fucked, I'm fucked. Holy shit! Oh, fuck! I talked a lot of shit before the game released, but Bloober Team really did a fantastic job with the remake. They made me eat my words. I got my eyes on them with their next game, and I kind of want to go back and try their previous works. I've always been interested in the medium, and I also tried out Blair Witch in October, and I was kind of enjoying it. I should honestly go back to it. As for Silent Hill, I'm saving 3 and 4 for next spooky season, because I know the rest of the series is very hit or miss after that original Team Silent quadrilogy, but I can't wait to experience more, and I'm super optimistic about the future of Silent Hill. Konami might be back, y'all. If they don't fuck up Metal Gear Solid Delta, we might be in for a great new era. Now, I loved Silent Hill 2, so the fact that it's not even on my top 5 should put into perspective the quality of the rest of this list, or at least my love for these games. So keep that in mind, and let's keep on rolling. Number 5. Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree. Let it be known that 2024 was the year I finally fell in love with Elden Ring. Bloodborne was my first Souls game, and I loved it so much to get the Platinum Trophy. Ever since then, I've been chasing that high, but I haven't been able to finish any of the other games in the series that I tried. Demon Souls, the whole Dark Souls trilogy. Then along comes Elden Ring in 2022, and I'm so excited, I buy it on day one. Imagine an open world Dark Souls with a map the size of Breath of the Wild? I wanted to love it so bad, but it just wasn't clicking for me after 30 to 40 hours. I remember being stuck on like 5 different boss fights all across the map. So I put it down, never to return, until 2024's Shadow of the Erdtree. A brand spanking new expansion that's basically the size of a whole new game. All you have to do is beat Moog and then boom, you're in. So I'll never forget, it was the day of the Kendrick Lamar pop-out concert, out of all days. I just woke up in the morning, booted up Elden Ring, hopped on Fextra Life, and I spent the whole damn day just grinding, cutting through every enemy and boss on my way to Moog. I arguably made more progress in that one day than I did in the whole first 2 years of playing the game. And at the end of the day, I did it. Moog was defeated, and I was ready for the expansion. And I got my fucking ass kicked, but thanks to the motivation of chat, I powered through and I made it all the way to the top. And when I first finished Shadow of the Erdtree, I was just glad that it was over. I liked it enough to put it in my top 10, but it was definitely lower on the list. But since then, I went back to the base game, and I was so overpowered from the DLC that I just tore through the rest of the game like a hot knife through butter, including Melania. And in 2024, I finally beat Elden Ring. I think I can safely say that it finally clicked, and I love it. Just in time for Night Rain this year. Let's fucking go. I can't believe they're making a fucking... I can't believe this game exists. I can admit that Elden Ring is just much bigger and way more impressive in scope, but Bloodborne is always going to be number 1 in my heart. And I just enjoy the Lovecraftian aesthetic way more. But regardless, thank you Shadow of the Erdtree for giving me a good reason to come back to Elden Ring. Rellana, Mesmer, both times you fight the fucking Dancing Lion, Bale, Radon. These are some of the best boss fights I've ever played, and I'll never forget them. Also, shout out to the Shadow Tree Blessing system. This was genius for someone like me who was underleveled going into the DLC to help even the playing field. Of course, you have to play a lot of Elden Ring before you can even get into the DLC, but regardless, I still think it was a great system implemented perfectly for new and returning players. And even though I couldn't beat Radon until they patched him twice, I still got it done on stream, and no one can tell me otherwise. So for that reason, Shadow of the Erdtree is my number 5. Number 4. Astrobot. It's Kinda crazy how PlayStation made the best Nintendo game of 2024. Astro Bot is just pure, unadulterated platforming goodness. It literally feels like Super Mario Galaxy 3 to me, where Shadow of the Erdtree was grueling and unforgiving, but ultimately rewarding. Astro Bot is just straight up fun from the first minute all the way to the last, with the most effortless platinum trophy I've ever gotten, because time flies when you're having fun. If you truly love video games, you'll love Astro Bot, especially anyone with PlayStation nostalgia, because there are so many goddamn deep cut references in here that I can't even name half of them, and I'm a big fucking nerd. But take away all those references and what you're left with is an amazing 3D platformer at its core that stands completely on its own. I have nothing but respect for Team Asobi with what they've done here, and I'll be waiting with bated breath to see what they do next. So yeah, that's it. Astro Bot is my number 4. Well deserved. Number 3. Balatro. Let it be known that 2024 was the year I started my crippling gambling addiction. I'm kidding. That's just a little jokey joke. Balatro is a poker roguelite, but there's no gambling at all. You buy the game once and you never spend another penny. Or you can be like me and you can buy the game on 3 different consoles. Anyway, I didn't know anything about poker when I first tried Balatro, and the good news is you don't have to. You use poker hands to score and earn points, but if you don't know any of the hands, there's a handy little cheat sheet right here in the game that explains them all, and you can access it at any time during gameplay. I kept coming back to this screen all the time my first few hours. But the real genius of Balatro is in how you can completely break the rules of poker. You start out with a normal 52 card deck, but you can just straight up buy more cards and add them in, literal aces up your sleeve. Or you can add multipliers to the cards already in your deck. And then there's the Joker cards. These are how you really power up and start racking up huge combos for literally millions of points. There's Jokers that give you multipliers every time you add new cards to your deck. Or there's a Joker that gives you a multiplier when you destroy cards in your deck. Now, why would you do that? Well, let's say you buy a planet card and you level up your flush, so you're gonna want to be flushing a lot. And then you also get a Joker that gives you a multiplier every time you play a heart card. If you want, you can then get the Hanged Man tarot card and start destroying diamonds, clubs, and spades. Now suddenly, oops, it's all heart cards in your deck. Suddenly, you can get a flush every hand. You can really do whatever you want, and you don't have to come into the game with a specific strategy in mind. Since all the power-ups and Jokers in the shop are completely random, you can move in any direction you want and adjust your strategy as you see fit. Once it clicks, Balatro is truly genius. I put this game on the same level as Tetris, a perfectly designed game that you can pick up and play forever. I haven't learned my lesson, and now I'm trying to go for another platinum trophy that's going to take me forever. And honestly, I don't care how long it takes. That's how good Balatro is. And that's why this little card game deserves my number 3 spot. Number 2. Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. Remember a few minutes ago when I said Astro Bot is the best Nintendo game of 2024? Well, that's because Thousand-Year Door is technically the best Nintendo game of 2004. But since this is a remake that came out this year, here it lands on my number 2 spot. What is there to say about this game that hasn't already been said? Captivating story, amazing combat system and level design, brilliant dialogue. You'll love each and every character by the end of the game. When I was in middle school, I played Kid Icarus Uprising on the 3DS. That's another game with great writing and hilarious dialogue. Thanks to nostalgia, my love for Kid Icarus Uprising grows stronger and stronger every year. I have it in my top 5 games of all time, and my dream game is an HD remaster or a full-on sequel in the exact same style. Why do I bring this all up? Well, Thousand-Year Door is so good that I know for a fact if I had played it as a kid back in the day on the GameCube, I would love it the exact same way that I love Kid Icarus Uprising, maybe even more. Sadly, I didn't grow up with a GameCube, but in that alternate reality where I did, I can see Thousand-Year Door being my favorite game of all time. But here in this universe, I played this remaster in 2024 and it was pretty damn good. GameCube games hold up so well when they get the HD treatment, so all they had to do was not fuck it up. And fuck it up, they did not. This game was so good, I spent the rest of the year chasing that Mario RPG high. Now I'm stuck playing fucking Brothership, even though I actually kinda like it, don't tell anybody. I'm still early, so there's plenty of time for me to hate it as I keep going. Anyway, I can confidently say that Thousand-Year Door has earned its reputation as the best Mario RPG, and it is easily the second best game I played this year. So now let's see what we have at number 1. Number 1, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Let it be known that 2024 was the year I became a Final Fantasy fan. I've never been a big RPG guy. I liked Pokemon and that's it, but that barely even counts. Pokemon is intentionally designed to be baby's first RPG, and everybody loves Pokemon. But in 2023, I played Super Mario RPG for the first time, and that opened up a huge turn-based can of worms for me. Obviously, I've been playing a lot of Mario RPGs, but that was my first ever Square RPG. I remember a specific moment in my mind where I thought, next year I'm gonna play a lot of RPGs. And if we're talking Square or Square Enix, obviously the granddaddy of all the RPG franchises is Final Fantasy. We're talking FF7 specifically. specifically, but Final Fantasy is such a historic series with so many classics that this is obviously the place to start. Lucky for me, in 2024, there was a big, shiny new remake coming out in the first quarter of the year, so I had a perfect excuse to dive all the way in. And this isn't your average everyday remake. These motherfuckers decided to split one game from 1997 into 3 full-sized $70 remakes, those greedy bastards. The first one came out in 2020 and was universally celebrated as far as I know. When I played it on stream in January, I had a good time, but I wasn't 100% in love yet. The story was very confusing and the combat didn't fully click for me yet, but by the time we got to Rebirth, there was just something in the air that pulled me all the way in. I said this exact same phrase multiple times, but it just felt like the perfect game for me in that moment. The biggest criticism I hear about Rebirth is its quote-unquote Ubisoft open world, which if you didn't know, that means it's just way too big and bloated for no reason, just to pad out the game and keep you playing for 1,000 hours. Icons all over the fucking minimap, and normally that would turn me off, but again, for some reason, that's exactly what I was craving at the time. I think the biggest reason is that the combat finally clicked for me in Rebirth. This was the exact kind of gameplay experience I've been looking for years. It looks like it's action-packed Devil May Cry Bayonetta type shit, and Final Fantasy purists will be quick to tell you the same thing. But really it just looks a lot flashier than it actually is. I like to call myself a lazy gamer, so I love a game that lets me stop and take exactly as much time as I need. But I also have ADD, so it can't be boring or else I'll lose interest and do something else. For me, Rebirth is a perfect blend of strategy that I'm looking for in an RPG and instant gratification. You have to think fast, but not too fast, but at the same time, if you do think fast, it's extremely satisfying to obliterate your enemy in a rapid fashion. If I feel like button mashing, I can easily and quickly do so, but if I come across a challenge and need to lock in, I can take all the time I need. Fast when you want fast and slow when you want slow. I love this combat so much that I went out of my way to complete every side quest in this 100-hour game. Where other people say the game is bloated, I couldn't get enough, and I even wanted more. One man's bloat is another man's kino. It helps that the original game is a masterpiece, so they had an amazing foundation to build on. I'm experiencing the FF7 story for the first time, and I fucking love all of these characters, except for Cloud. But I see where the story is going, and I understand why Cloud is such a little bitch. And also I feel like he's just enough of a blank slate that I can tune out his bitchiness and easily insert myself into this role-playing game. Another big criticism of Rebirth is that the story pacing suffers because of the large open world. But again, that works out in my favor, because it makes it easier to ignore the things that I don't like about Cloud and just spend 100 hours with Tifa, Aerith, Barret, and Yuffie. And speaking of Yuffie, a lot of people find her annoying, and well, she can be a bit much at times. None of that matters because her combat fucking rips. I played the whole goddamn game as Yuffie, and it's so satisfying cloning yourself and doing double elemental damage and reducing your opponents to dust to mere atoms. Her combat is so fucking fun that it makes up for everything, and she can do no wrong in my eyes, and I'm a Yuffie stan for life. And Queen's Blood was really fun too. I loved it a lot. They need to make Queen's Blood its own standalone game like Gwent, so I could play it on my phone the same way I do with Balatro right now. Overall, it seems like everything people hate about this game is everything I love about it. To me, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a perfect storm of a video game, perhaps a lightning in a bottle moment for me at this stage of my gaming career. I loved it enough to do basically every side quest in the game. I loved it enough that I want to play the original PS1 game, and also shit like Crisis Core and Dirge of Cerberus, and watch Advent Children so I could get the full story in every iteration possible. I loved it enough that I want to play all the other 15 fucking Final Fantasy games so I can see what I've been missing out on all these years. I loved it enough that I will be there no matter what on day one to play the third and final installment of this remake trilogy. And I loved it enough that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is my game of the year for 2024. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, adios.